Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's scheduled public comment hearing of June 14th, 2021. My name is Mally Rosado, and I'm the council president for the Court of Common Council for the City of Hartford. Joining me this evening for public comment, as I see them on the screen, is Councilwoman Shirley Sargent, Councilman James Sanchez, Councilwoman Marilyn Rosati, Councilman Nick LeBron, and from the Council President's Office, David Grant, which will assist us with the speaking order. Public comment shall be conducted in accordance with the following procedures. Each person wishing to address the council or committee thereof shall, upon recognition by the presiding officer, give his name or her name, address, and if he or she represents a group, shall in addition state for the record the name and address of said group or organizations, and shall limit his or her remarks to 3 minutes. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a body and not to any individual member. Any person making personal impertinence or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be forthwith barred by the presiding officers from future audience at said meeting unless permission to remain is granted by a 2/3 vote of the council members present and voting. During public comment, there should be no debate by the council, although questions may be asked by council or persons making such presentation. For members of the community, please be advised that this meeting is being broadcasted and recorded by Hartford Public Access Television and can be viewed by Hartford Public Access TV Facebook page, Comcast, Xfinity channel number 96, www.HPA-TV.org, or channel 6032 for Frontier customers. Spanish interpretation is provided through a partnership with the City of Hartford and the Hartford Public Library. Additional accommodations can be made available with a notice to my office. I want to state for the record that Councilman Josh Mishram has joined us, and Majority Leader Clark has also joined us, along with Councilman Gale. With that said, let's start our public comment section for this evening. And first to speak is Stan Mccauley. And Councilwoman Wildelise Bermudez has also joined us. Stan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. J. Stan Mccauley. I reside at 77 Wadsworth Street in Hartford, Connecticut. Tonight, however, I am here in my capacity as president of the Greater Hartford African American Alliance. And my task tonight is to address the council as our legislative body to make them aware of a open letter that the Alliance sent to the mayor, who is our chief elected official and represents the executive branch. There was a response to our letter, and I am here to address that response, not through you to the mayor, but rather to you, in that our expectation that the response was what it was, we found to be rather disappointing, but we do hope that our other elected officials, primarily those in our legislative branch, would not treat us with the same dismissiveness. The letter that was written was to reflect our deep concern over the culture and the attitude that we have discovered through many conversations with many different people of the Hartford Police Department. We think this is of grave concern, and we would challenge our elected officials in the legislative branch to give due consideration to the concerns that we brought up in our open letter. We do not believe that the police chief works for us. He works for the mayor. However, we do believe that the mayor works for us and that he was elected to represent us and our concerns. We're hoping that our elected officials in the legislative branch would give due consideration to the issues that were brought up in the letter. We do know that reasonable minds can disagree and that there's always the outside chance that we are wrong. However, we do not expect that if we are wrong, that because it is said or thought to be so, that wit would be dismissed without discussion. With that, I end my remarks. I thank you for your time and your service to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mccauley. Next to speak is Dora Lynn.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. I'd like my time to start in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dora Lynn, and I live on 101 Girard Avenue. I'd first like to thank the Honorable Council for considering item 15 on the agenda, the climate emergency resolution, which I am speaking in favor of today as one of the citizens who brought the resolution to the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Environment Committee. Through passing the resolution, Hartford will declare a climate emergency, a critical step forward to making our world more sustainable for all citizens of Hartford and beyond. In the past, Hartford has made many impressive efforts into helping our environment, such as the Watershed Management Plan, and declaring a climate emergency will help raise awareness while allowing more direct actions from the government and beyond. As a Hartford resident who cares deeply about sustainability, I know this resolution would help countless families in Hartford in combating climate change, an issue that affects us all. We have many other sponsors from Hartford as well, who all care deeply about making our home a more sustainable place for all, including the Grace Lutheran Church, Emmanuel Congregational Church, Asylum Hill Neighborhood Association, the Ebony Horsewomen, Trinity College, Kenny Park Sustainability Project, Sunrise Connecticut, and Save the Sound. Passing this resolution would be a first step towards this goal. Thank you all for listening, and I strongly urge the Council to pass this resolution for a greener future for all.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Next to speak is Leslie Hammond. Leslie, you have the floor.
Hi, it's Leslie Hammond, 1 Linden Place in Hartford. Thank you, Council, for having public comment. I 100% agree with Stan Mccauley with his statement that Thody should resign. As you know, a group of us started out not Hartford Police Not Safe for Women, and didn't think Thody should be the chief police in the first place. And he is totally over his head with the Wethersfield Avenue going on. And now I just found out that he denied Kelly Baraga from being a sergeant. She would have been the only LGBTQ supervisor, and he's vindictive. I really can see his personality. Because of his past, I really see him. He's vindictive, and people are leaving because of the culture. They're not leaving because of the money. So this is very serious, you guys. And now he's being vindictive with Kelly, and we're going to find out more about that. Unfortunately, that's the way it works with Hartford. It's going to have to all be legal. On another subject, I really hope you start having public meetings, particularly when you start talking about the airport. As you may or may not know, CRDA and Bushnell is having a public meeting next week. So I presume if they can, you can. The airport is a big topic, and we know there's a hidden agenda with the airport, and there has been for a long time, and it's not known publicly or talked about publicly. And I think it's time that we come clean with our politics in Hartford and start talking about what's really going on with the airport. We've made no attempt to make the airport a successful venture with jobs for young people and different people and so many other events. And we make no attempt because there's this hidden agenda that's always been running the show. Thirdly, this whole thing with Lawrence Street and Aaron Gill, I really appreciate everything that Mr. Gill's done for the area that he's in. But I was shocked when I saw this letter from Mayor Bronin that basically did not tell all the information. And that's super concerning. He said that that Mr. Gill is going to invest approximately $461,000, which is totally not correct at all. He is getting $370,000 from CRDA, $370,000. Now, as you know, I'm a realtor. The property, what's the appraisal on that? I mean, maybe 370 at the top. So this kind of figure that the mayor is giving us is totally reckless and unacceptable. And I hope you don't go along with it, even though I know the Dems will go along with the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Hammond. Next to speak is Assad Ishmael. Assad. If you could unmute yourself, you have the floor. David, could you try to unmute him?
I can't. He has to unmute himself.
Okay. Okay, we'll come back to Mr. Assad. Next to speak is Carl Garieri. Carl, you have the floor.
Hi, good
Hi.
evening. Hello, council and friends on the council. I'm Carl Garieri and I live at 284 Grandview Terrace. I'm speaking tonight to find out what the council plans to do about the extreme loss of quality of life in our neighborhoods. Much like the murder of George Floyd was the culmination of decades of racist policies and oppression that led to a major movement to end them, the melee that occurred on Wethersfield Avenue and other parts of the city, and the murder of yet another innocent bystander must mark a new and comprehensive effort to focus on restoring quality of life throughout the city. I refute any belief that what happened these last 2 weeks was the result of pent-up frustrations from people who have endured the restrictions enacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Quality of life has been declining in the city for decades, and it is a result of numerous factors, including ineffective and lax policing, as well as a general lack of ordinance enforcement. 24/7 businesses, residents, visitors in Hartford are being assaulted by loud noise, aggressive and reckless drivers, and a slew of other obnoxious and illegal behaviors. These individuals seem to think their behavior is okay, and many don't care if it isn't. In the sanctity of my home, I have to endure excessive noise from cars, homes, fireworks, and individuals in the street at all hours of the day. On the road, I have to endure extreme and unnecessary noise from vehicles, either through loud music, revving engines, and modified mufflers. People are doing whatever they want, blowing through red lights and stop signs, passing on the right, etc. I may be alive today because I happened to look in the rear view mirror to see an idiot headed for me at more than 60 miles an hour. Luckily, I was able to swerve in the opposite lane because there were no oncoming cars. At work, at home, or at Capital Community College on Main Street, I have had to stop doing what I was doing because these idiots have their music so loud, I couldn't conduct a meeting or teach my students. At play in the city, I have endured the same at outdoor restaurants, arts, and cultural events. At last week's Marge meeting, the mayor agreed with my call for extraordinary efforts to address this important matter. However, what I heard was more of the same. I strongly suggest that by the end of the month, the council and mayor publicly and extensively state what will be done to address these concerns. It must include an educational campaign and a realistic enforcement plan. And to address this important issue long-term, the council and mayor should create a limited time task force and include appropriate city employees, residents, and other community leaders to develop a comprehensive and innovative plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garieri, for your comment. Next to speak is Larry Deutch. If you could unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Good. Good evening to all. How is everyone?
Good, good.
We're doing good,
Nice.
Dr. Deutch.
Good. I'm glad to hear everyone's healthy voice. I have three observations from the agenda for tonight, and then some. I noticed that there's one resolution about relationships with Caribbean peoples and nations, which is very nice to see. I wish it had broader sponsorship, and I don't know whether all members of the majority, all Democrats, true Democrats, are reaching out to the whole council so there can be broader collaborative sponsorship. And as President Biden says, cooperation and bipartisanship. So I hope that there's every effort for council members in the Democratic majority to include all council members. And that also goes for the good resolution on environment, which I see is by Councilwomen Surgeon and also Rossetti. And I also want to point out that if there were broader sponsorship, it might encompass the experience and knowledge of certain members of the minority who I imagine would also be interested in environment, one of whom, Councilwoman Bermudez, has degrees in environmental science. And wouldn't it be helpful to the Democrats with a capital D to consult with other members of other parties to get a council-wide resolution? And I also understand there may be a resolution with regard to inclusion of Cuba in the national enrollment. That is, it should be the Caribbean nations, of course, Puerto Rico and Cuba, all have common interests, don't you think? So I would just come back and summarize by asking if on the council, we have members of the Democratic Party who are acting like Republicans. And by that, of course, I mean once they have the votes, there's no interest in consulting or involving any minorities. And it happens that in Washington, we have Republicans not interested in consulting once they have the votes to block something, whereas President Biden emphasizes cross-aisle and collaborative and bipartisan or tripartisan relationships. So I would like to see that in the future council resolutions and agendas, so that all the members of council, not just the Democratic Party majority, put forth a resolution, and knowing that they have the votes, may not involve the rest of the council, not only to speak of the public, which I hope receives these appeals for environment and harmony, especially among all the Caribbean nations, including Cuba, of course, for development and rebuilding after storms and preservation of a good environment. So that's all, at least for tonight. I wish everyone well and good health, freedom from COVID, and good working relationships among all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deutch, for your comments. So we're going back to Mr. Assad Ishmael. You have the floor. I see that you're here with us. Assad, can you hear us? So you're making progress. You're now unmuted. Okay, we'll come back to you. Is there anyone else on the line that hasn't spoken? Is Mr. Kevin Lovejoy with us?
I don't see anyone else signed in.
Okay, we'll just wait for Mr. Assad. Mr. Assad, if you can hear me and you continue to have technical difficulties, you might want to log off and log back on. We will wait for you to log back on. Okay, David, I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties with Mr. Assad. We'll wait 2 more minutes. If not, could you please send him an email so that he can send us an email with his testimony, a written testimony, and we can share with all council?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman LeBron, if you can do a time for me for 2 minutes, 2 more minutes, please. See if Mr. Azad can join us, or we will end our public comment section and reach out to him via email. Okay, he's logged off. Let's see if he logs back on.
Council President,
Yes.
while we're waiting for the gentleman to log back on, I just want to address Councilman Laura Deutch, is that unfortunately, all the names didn't get in on time for the sponsorship of a lot of the resolutions that is on the agenda. But please be assured, Mr. Deutch, that we do have support from a lot of the council members. It's unfortunate that, as you remember, we have agenda day, we have to get items in, and they can always add their names, to an item that they do support at the council meeting. So please know that. Thank you, Council President. Just want to make that statement.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rossetti, for that statement. Councilman Sanchez?
Yeah, so while we're making some statement, I have a couple of statements I want to make. I want to respond to Mr. Garieri, and I understand his frustrations and concerns, and we all here at council share that frustration and concern, and we are fully aware of what's going on. We have addressed this issue in several different ways, including having the state police join us, the Department of Motor Vehicle join us, and the Hartford Parking Authority. But also we're trying to connect with the residents who are all suffering from these very same issues that you share with us. And what we're in need of is actual support to let us know if you identify someone who's actually inciting these mobs. Please let us know. Also let the police department know. And we, I myself, and I'm sure as most of the council members here support the Hartford Police Department 100%. They've been doing as much as they can. They're very exhausted. They're spent. We don't have enough officers at the moment to handle a crowd of 15,000, approximately 25,000 on top of that. But we are trying our best. The other thing is a comment from Madame about the airport. The airport is approximately 100 years old. It has been attempted to advance and develop the airport into something that's feasible for the city of Hartford. But to have the ignorance of believing there's a theory or some underlying agenda from past is not true. I've had this vision from before I started and became a councilman, and I still have the vision of developing this area to a beautiful marina, restaurants, retail, apartments as you have, so that it can actually benefit the city of Hartford. At this moment, all we receive is $8,700 from aircraft registrations and another $13,500 from just personal property tax. And the reason being is because all the facilities are on state land, which is right now. In 1959, council decided to close it down. And at that time, the city owned this airport. And that's when the state tied their hands up and took the airport away so that we have no say into it. So now it's time to reclaim that land. And I will stop there with that information. And hopefully we can move forward with this. I know that Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon is planning to have a special meeting. I believe it will be the 28th. It's not confirmed yet, but it will be noticed. And so that everyone can share their opinion and voice their concerns. And also, if you are so adamant about, being so negative with council, and also so adamant about not moving forward, then come up with some ideas. That's all we ask. Just come up with some ideas. We'll consider it. We'll look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sanchez, for those comments. Mr. Assad was not able to join us, but we will, oh, here he is. Mr. Assad, can you unmute yourself? Okay, I don't think this is going to work. We will reach out to you, Mr. Assad, via email. This concludes our public comment.
I apologize, Council President. Kelvin Lovejoy is currently on.
Oh, okay, Mr. Kelvin Lovejoy, and we'll go back to Mr. Assad. You have the floor.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you have the floor.
First of all, greetings, city council members. I appreciate the opportunity to make a few comments regarding my city, and what I believe is the immense turmoil that we're going through in terms of our youth in the city of Hartford. I was stunned today by reading an article about 5 young men between the ages of 15 and 18 that I'm actually very familiar with, a couple of them out stealing cars, of course, and they were apprehended. But it speaks to the larger issue that we are dealing with in our city of Hartford. As a community organizer for Blue Hills Civic Association, we are diligently working to, with our partners, provide resources and activities for youth, especially in the north end of Hartford. But one thing, and I'd like to point this out in terms of resources, I know that under the Obama administration, I believe it was, there was something called My Brother's Keeper. And this is a question, and I'm not sure exactly who might have the answer, but I would appreciate some follow-up. And that is to find out where is the My Brother's Keeper proposal, and how do we bring it down to the community so that it could be implemented in some shape, form, or fashion, say at one of our community agencies, or probably a coalition of agencies, to address this issue that is going on in the inner city of Hartford as it pertains to Black and brown males especially. We need help out here on the front lines. We need resources out here on the front lines. I'm not saying that My Brother's Keeper is the end all or would solve all of our problems, but I would like to hear, A, where is it? B, what kinds of resources need to be added to it? And thirdly, how do we connect as a community-based organization to bring that to the streets of Hartford? Lastly, when we talk about public safety, I know that in the north end of Hartford, we have been having success with something called the CORE team, Community Organizers for Residential Engagement. We are actually in our 4th year of a 3-year grant, so we are literally operating with no resources. And the question becomes, how do we add resources to some initiatives that have been working? I know that we had some federal dollars come down. And when we talk about public safety, these young people who are the core members are surely the ones who are going out and connecting with residents and being able to bring resources and bring voice to our residents in North Hartford. So I want to thank you again for allowing me these few minutes, and I would appreciate follow-up. My email is lovejoyk@bluehillscivic.org, or directly, my phone number is 860-833-4288. There is an opportunity for any of the council members, especially focused on public safety, to be able to meet with our core team members and hear straight from their voice what their concerns are, what they have experienced in the streets of Hartford, and how they can help with public safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lovejoy. And it's my understanding that Courtney Jackson is Courtney Jackson is the My Brother's Keeper facilitator. So we will reach out to him and loop you in the email, okay?
Courtney is his name.
Courtney? Okay.
Courtney.
Courtney Jackson. Thank you.
He works in the Department of Children's, Family, Youth, and Recreation.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. Mr. Assad, are you with us? Okay. We will reach out to you via email and get your testimony and share it with all the council members. With that being said, this public comment section is adjourned. We will be back at 7 p.m. with our regularly scheduled council meeting. Thank you, everyone.